My husband spent 9 months in Antarctica. He worked at a research station so remote that for parts of the year nobody could leave and nobody could arrive. And at first everything was normal. He called whenever he could. He sent emails. Every few weeks I'd get a handwritten letter. I counted down the days until he'd be home. And then things started changing. Just small things. The kind of things nobody else would notice. My husband has always called me B since we were 17 years old, as in Bumble. I honestly can't remember the last time he used my real name. And then one day, a letter arrived that said, "Dear Amber." And I remember staring at it, and it felt ridiculous to be upset over something so small, but it really bothered me. And then he called a few days later and I mentioned it. I said, "You called me Amber in your letter." And there was silence. Just silence. He asked, "What did the letter say exactly?" And I remember frowning and thinking, what? He said, "The letter, what did it say?" The question caught me so off guard. I expected him to laugh and tell me he'd made a mistake, but instead he wanted to know every word. So I read parts of it back to him, and he stayed completely silent while I did. And when I finished, there was another long pause, and then he quietly said, "Right." And I think I put it down to the stress at work, like he's bogged down with so many things to remember at work that maybe he just didn't have the capacity to remember that as well. But something felt wrong. Not because he'd called me Amber, but because he seemed genuinely surprised by what was written in the letter. And after that, the letters became even stranger. The little jokes we always shared disappeared. The pet names never came back. And even the way he signed them changed. For 14 years, every single letter, birthday card, note he'd ever written me ended the same way. "I love you more," every time. And now they just ended with his name. Just Michael. The calls became less frequent, and then they stopped altogether. A month passed, then another. And finally one night my phone rang and it was him. But the connection was terrible. I could barely hear him. His voice was quiet, but so urgent. He said, "Amber, when I come home," and then I couldn't hear. All I heard was "don't." And then everything just crackled. I started screaming his name, but the call got disconnected and I never got another one. 3 weeks later, he came home. The station sent me his flight details and I drove to the airport. I saw him walking towards me. Same height, same face, same clothes. Everyone else was hugging their families, smiling and crying, but my husband was just staring at me. And when he finally reached me, he did wrap his arms around me. And for a second I felt relieved. For a second I thought maybe I'd imagined everything. And then he leaned close to my ear and whispered, "She still comes into the room at 3:17 every morning." My stomach dropped, because I had never told him that. I had never told anyone that.